History is not merely a collection of dates. It is the living story of a resilient people. As our nation reflects on its 250th anniversary, we look closer to home, to the deep roots of Winston-Salem's historic Bellevue Waughtown community. In the spring of 1865, as the long shadow of slavery finally lifted from this region, a hopeful declaration emerged. May this great change turn out to the eventual well-being of these people. That great change became the spark for a community built on faith, self-reliance, and determination. This is the story of how that hope was answered through the founding of Waughtown Bellevue and First Waughtown Baptist Church. Prepared for America 250, This is Our History by Spencer McCall Jr. They came from Salem, Waughtown, and Davidson, Davie, and Stokes counties. On the afternoon of May 21, 1865, hundreds crowded into St. Philip's Moravian Church, filling the sanctuary and straining to hear from the windows outside. There, Reverend Seth Clark read two vital military proclamations, which officially declared that all persons previously held in bondage within the state were now fully free. Though its full enforcement would not reach portions of Texas until June 19th, the day now remembered as Juneteenth, but on this Sunday in Salem, the enslaved heard freedom publicly proclaimed. Before the congregation departed, Reverend Clark offered a hope for the future, and for every generation that would follow. He said, "May this great change turn out to the eventual well-being of these people." Here, long before Moravian settlers arrived, native peoples traveled the forests, creeks, and trading paths of the Carolina Piedmont. Some of those routes survive today as major roads, including Clemensville Road and Waughtown Street. On November 17, 1753, Moravian settlers purchased 99,000 acres from John Carteret, one of the English lords proprietors, and named it the Wachovia Tract. There they established Bethabara, meaning House of Passage, and later Salem, meaning peace. In 1783, Salem hosted the nation's first 4th of July celebration. In 1791, President George Washington traveled through the area along the road that later became Waughtown Street. In 1806, a settlement known as Bagtown emerged southeast of Salem. Over time, it became known as Waughtown. In 1769, a 19-year-old enslaved man named Sam asked the Moravians to purchase him because he wished to learn to know the Savior. His request created a moral dilemma. After debate, the church elders turned to the lot, believing God would reveal his will. The yes slip was drawn, and Sam became the first enslaved person owned by the Moravians in Wachovia. Initially unfamiliar with English chattel slavery, the Moravians often pensioned elderly enslaved people, or allowed them some choice in where they lived, including the retirement farm for the enslaved, which is known today as Sherwood Forest. By 1810, just south of Salem, the Moravians had established the Wachovia Plantation, often called the Quarter. Near what would later become Waughtown, enslaved men, women, and children lived and worked there. While some labored in the fields, many were skilled craftsmen and artisans whose work helped build and sustain Salem. Among them were Bodney and Phoebe, with Bodney serving as the plantation's farm manager. In 1822, St. Philip's Moravian Church was established, becoming North Carolina's oldest African-American congregation. Its first services were held in the home of Bodney and Phoebe. The Salem Missionary Society operated a school for enslaved people and free people of color until state laws restricted education for the enslaved. In August 1861, the congregation laid the cornerstone for a new brick church. Ironically, it bears the name of Jefferson Davis, making St. Philip's the only known building in Old Salem with a cornerstone referencing the Confederate president. Yet it also bears the fingerprints of the enslaved people who built it. In its graveyard, Yoruba burial traditions testify to the endurance of African culture and faith. Among Salem's enslaved residents were Timothy and his wife Fanny, an African priestess born around 1749. Timothy was born in Guinea, West Africa, around 1736, and was captured as a child and brought to the American colonies. Records show that Timothy later worked at North Carolina's first paper mill in Salem, and in 1783, he was connected to the early Zeverly House near Salem, which is today's Zeverly Restaurant. Alex, who was called Alec and Alvis, grandsons of Timothy Zeverly, helped build and operate the Freeze Wool and Cotton Mill, one of Winston's most important industrial enterprises. Established in 1837 as the Salem Manufacturing Company, the mill became a cornerstone of the region's industrial growth and was later among the first Southern mills to utilize electric lighting. After emancipation, many of Waughtown's freedmen continued working at the mill, transforming freedom into skilled labor and economic opportunity. Among them was Ned, known as the gasmaker, who operated the Freeze gas plant, supplying power to the mill and the surrounding community. Today, the historic mill buildings live on as the Brookstown Inn and the Winston-Salem Visitors Center. Waughtown was born from ambition, independence, and life beyond Salem's strict rules. After his father's death, Salem leaders refused to let Charles Bagg take over the family store. In response, he built a mansion and mercantile in 1806 on the site of present-day Memorial Chapel of Old Waughtown Baptist Church. The settlement became known as Bagtown and later Charlestown. In 1815, Bagg sold the property to James Waugh and his brother William Pitt Waugh, and Bagtown gradually became known as Waughtown. In July 1808, a 28-year-old woman named Rachel was purchased by Charles Bagg. She was likely the first enslaved person documented in what would later become Waughtown. On March 9, 1816, James Waugh purchased from Jesse Robinettit, his father-in-law, or possibly his brother-in-law, the 23-year-old mulatto Lucy and her 5 children, Sultana, age 12, Isaac, age 9, Fanny, age 7, Nellie, age 5, and Lucinda, age 2, for $1,200. James Waugh is known to have sold only one enslaved person, Lucinda Fletcher, whom he inherited in 1810. The Waugh mansion and store stood on the site of today's Memorial Chapel of Old Waughtown Baptist Church. Nearby, along Marble Street, stood the quarters where enslaved families lived. Among the enslaved people of James Waugh were Lucy, Sultana, Isaac, Henry, Sophia, Wallace, Robin, later known as Robert, Susan, Betsy Ann, Nicody, Hamilton, Mary, Charles, John, Nellie, Seth, Charlotte, Lawson, Amanda, Patience, Jim, Sidney, Sarah, Anne, Lucy, Nelson, and William, who may have run away. After John Hauser died in 1843, Gilbert, his wife Lydia, and their 4 children were hired out to different employers rather than sold. Gilbert worshipped at Mount Pleasant Methodist in Tanglewood, Concord Methodist, and St. Philip's African Moravian Church in Salem. His life carried him from Bethania to Clemens and Salem, as he was repeatedly leased to others. After emancipation, Gilbert lived on the Griffith Plantation, the site of present-day Tanglewood Park. The Maston Plantation stretched from Middle Fork Creek to Waughtown. Matthias Maston inherited an enslaved woman named Grace, whose children included Jake, Mark, Liz, Sam, Asa, Lizzie, and Mitt. Samuel Maston later became a founder and trustee of the Waughtown Freedmen's School. As Stoneman's raiders approached Waughtown in 1865, Asa Maston helped hide horses, valuables, and alcohol in Muddy Creek. His wife, Margaret Reich Maston, became an early follower of Reverend George W. Holland. Polly Maston Kerner preserved these stories in her memoir. She recalled that her husband, Jules Kerner, was raised by an enslaved woman known as Aunt Dealey. After freedom, Kerner provided Aunt Dealey a house and rental properties. A few miles southeast of Waughtown in neighboring Davidson County lies the community of Georgetown, which earned its name because so many formerly enslaved men there were named George, including George Hines, George Clinard, and Reverend George Trainham, founder of Clifton Grove Baptist Church. George Hines was the son of George Grimes. After emancipation, George Grimes hoped his son would take the name Grimes. Instead, his son George took the name Hines. Not all African Americans in Waughtown were enslaved. By 1860, Waughtown was home to 91 black residents, including 78 enslaved people and 23 free people of color. In neighboring Salem, about 125 African Americans were enslaved, while relatively few were free. The unusually large number of free people of color suggests that Waughtown offered opportunities that attracted free African Americans. Escaping slavery, Frank Spees, the son of Betty Hauser of Davie County, joined the United States Colored Troops and fought for freedom. After the war, he became one of the leaders of the Waughtown Freedmen, a blacksmith, member of Waughtown's Black School Committee, and founder of First Waughtown Baptist Church. When Frank died in 1905, his gravestone in Bellevue Cemetery carried a simple message: "Be ye also ready." Imagine George Clark, a free black blacksmith in Davidson County, standing at his forge as the Civil War entered its final days. A member of the Heroes of America, better known as the Red Strings, he secretly opposed the Confederacy, sheltered escaped Union soldiers, gathered intelligence, and aided Union forces. George was not alone. Communities such as Union Cross and Union Ridge were known for their Union sympathies, providing support and safe passage to Union troops. For years, George risked his livelihood because of his beliefs. Then, in the war's closing days, he helped lead Union troops from Davidson County into Waughtown and Salem, helping bring freedom to the enslaved people who lived there. The blacksmith who had quietly resisted now helped change history. April 1865 was the Confederacy's final week, and much of its last drama unfolded around Salem, Waughtown, Greensboro, and Lexington. On April 9th, General Robert E. Lee surrendered the Confederacy's greatest army. On April 10th, Stoneman's raiders, some guided by George Clark, entered Salem. Salem surrendered peacefully. Meanwhile, Jefferson Davis and the Confederate government gathered in Greensboro, the last capital of the Confederacy. On April 14th, President Lincoln was shot and died the next day on Good Friday. On Easter Sunday, April 16th, Davis, Governor Zebulon Vance, and other Confederate leaders met near Abbott's Creek outside Lexington. The Confederacy had come to North Carolina to die. In 1866, as North Carolina's black codes threatened newly won freedoms, the Freedmen of Waughtown responded with education. Led by Samuel Maston, Robert Waugh, William T. Butler, Aaron Stafford, and Clark Light, they established the Waughtown Freedmen School, the first of 4 freedmen schools in Forsyth County. The school inspired others in Salem, Louisville, and Clemensville. Built largely by the freedmen themselves, it served children and adults and was taught by W.G. Kerner with assistance from black teachers. Waughtown did not wait for opportunity, it created it. Along Waughtown Street, John and Mary Lindback Fries opened their home for Baptist prayer meetings, while Harris and Paulina Fries hosted Methodist gatherings. While John and Harris worked at the Fries wool mill, Mary and Paulina spread word of the meetings throughout the community. Reverend Lewis Banner, Forsyth County's first black minister, preached, performed weddings and funerals, and was often assisted by Reverend Anthony Welburn of Davidson County. As the Baptist congregation grew, worship moved to the Waughtown Freedmen School. In the late 1870s, Reverend George W. Holland organized the Baptists into First Baptist Church. Waughtown chapel services continued and later became First Waughtown Baptist Church, formally organized in 1900 under Reverend Pinckney Joyce. While many formerly enslaved members of the Fries family settled in Waughtown, others settled in Sidestown, now part of the Ardmore community. Alex Fries and his brother Wesley Fries, grandsons of the African-born Timothy Shober Zevely, married into the Sides family and built homes there. Wesley constructed a 2-story house, while Alex used gold he had accumulated while enslaved to build a large home. Historian Adelaide Fries recorded that Alex was allowed to trade tobacco, watermelons, and other goods, enabling him to save nearly $400 in gold, money likely intended to purchase his freedom. Instead, he used it to build his home. The 1870 census provides our first clear view of the freedmen community of Waughtown. Here we meet the families who would build its future: the Staffords, Yokeless, Snyders, Brays, Reeds, Joneses, Lights, Butlers, Banners, Limleys, Fries, Fultzes, Breetzes, Malloys, Reichs, Mastons, Davises, Lees, Wheelers, Waws, Hairstons, Yokeleys, and Foys. One of the most remarkable stories revealed by the 1870 census is the work of Waughtown's freedmen. Across much of the South, formerly enslaved people remained tied to agriculture as sharecroppers, tenant farmers, or farm laborers. In Waughtown, however, a different pattern emerged. Of the community's 27 black-led households, only 4 heads of household were farmers, and 5 were farm laborers. Most earned their living in skilled trades, industry, and transportation. 3 were blacksmiths, 1 was a wheelwright, 4 worked in the Fries wool mill and gas mill, 3 worked on the railroad, 1 was a boot and shoemaker who also operated a store, and 4 worked as day laborers in shops, mills, and other wage-paying occupations. By 1870, 11 of Waughtown's 27 black-led households owned property. Just 5 years after freedom, 41% of Waughtown's black households were property owners. The Staffords, Brays, Lights, Fultzes, Frieses, Reichs, Butlers, Wheelers, and Waws were among the first black property-owning families. Soon they were joined by the Yokeleys, Banners, and Foys. In 1872, Ned Lemley of Waughtown became the first black landowner in nearby Happy Hill. While much of the South struggled with tenancy and sharecropping, Waughtown's freedmen were acquiring land, building homes, and creating stability for their families. They turned freedom into ownership and ownership into opportunity. Reverend Lewis Banner was one of early Waughtown's most important leaders. By day, he worked in the Fries cotton mill while serving as Forsyth County's first black Baptist minister. Influenced by Elder William Turner, he led the county's first black Baptist congregation, which met in the Fries cabin on Waughtown Street. Banner preached, performed weddings and funerals, guided newly freed families, and became a property owner. As the congregation grew, worship moved to the Waughtown Freedmen School. There, he helped lay the foundation for the church, later organized by Reverend George W. Holland, which became First Baptist Church and First Waughtown Baptist Church. Born enslaved in Virginia, Washington Fries was brought to Salem as a teenager. Francis Fries acquired him in a trade, exchanging an enslaved man named George and adding extra money. Washington later recalled the story. "He swapped George for me and gave some loot." While enslaved, Washington worked in the Freeze wool mill and earned extra money cutting hair. After emancipation, he became a barber, acquired substantial property in Waughtown, and emerged as one of its most successful black landowners. Harriet, daughter of Fannie Waugh, became an early follower of Reverend George W. Holland. After her death, Reverend Pinckney Joyce reorganized the Waughtown congregation, with services first held under a brush arbor on Washington Freeze's property. William Turner Butler, who was born free, was one of Waughtown's most successful black citizens. He helped establish the Freedmen's School, served as a registrar during the 1867 Reconstruction election, attended the North Carolina Republican Convention, and led the Waughtown Freedmen's Union meetings. A skilled wagon maker, he acquired lots of property and built substantial wealth. He left an estate valued between $40,000 and $60,000, roughly $2 million today. Butler Street bears his name. His descendants continued that legacy. William T. Butler Jr. served as a Buffalo Soldier. Isabella Butler Weich became a teacher and principal, while her niece Agnes Martin Lee married Cleon Oscar Lee, Winston-Salem's first black dentist. Lou Foy, daughter of Alex Nelson and Sally Jordan, was enslaved by Reverend Miles Foy, a Methodist minister outside Salem. Family tradition holds that shortly before the Civil War ended, she was taken to Virginia and, after gaining her freedom, walked back to Waughtown. A washerwoman by trade, Lou became an early follower of Reverend George W. Holland and a property owner in Waughtown. Her children continued that legacy. Lee Foy became a well-known shoemaker in Winston-Salem. Betty Foy Self was among Forsyth County's first female preachers. William Foy served as sexton of the Bellevue School, and his wife, Flora, helped found the reorganized First Waughtown Baptist Church under Reverend J. Pinckney Joyce. Robert Waugh was one of Waughtown's most influential freedmen. Enslaved by the Waugh family, he was the son of Sultana Waugh and a descendant of the White Waugh family. Later, he cared for Colonel Jesse Waugh in his final years. His wife, Mary Dalton Hairston, was a granddaughter of Peter Hairston and Sally Blagg of the Sorrowtown Plantation. A skilled shoemaker, store owner, and political leader, Robert helped establish the Waughtown Freedmen's School, the first black school in Forsyth County, and the Freedmen's School in Salem. He represented Forsyth County at the 1867 Republican and state conventions. By 1871, several of his children attended Lincoln University. Robert and Mary later moved to Greensboro. Their descendants included Judge Elretta Melton Alexander Ralston. Few people left a greater mark on North Carolina than Dr. James Francis Schober. Born enslaved on the Waugh Plantation on August 23, 1853, he was the son of Betsy Ann Waugh and Francis Edwin Schober, an attorney, politician, and congressman. Schober attended Lincoln University, graduating in 1875, and earned his medical degree from Howard University in 1878. Moving to Wilmington, he became the city's only black physician, serving a black population of more than 10,000. In 1881, he married Anna Maria Taylor, daughter of carpenter Henry Taylor. His brother-in-law, Robert Robinson Taylor, became the first black graduate of MIT and a pioneering architect at Tuskegee Institute. In 1982, Dr. Schober received a North Carolina historical marker. Few women had a greater impact on black education in North Carolina than Isabella Butler Weich. Born in Waughtown on October 8, 1861, she was the daughter of William Turner and Teresa Fries Butler. Isabella attended the Waughtown Freedmen's School, began teaching at 13, and later attended the State Normal School in Fayetteville, now Fayetteville State University. After moving to Charlotte, she spent more than 22 years educating African American children as a teacher, principal, and leader of Charlotte's black public schools. Much of her career centered at Myers Street School, Charlotte's first public school for African Americans. Charlotte later honored her legacy by naming the Isabella Weich School in her memory. Born in 1855, Addie C. Morris was the daughter of Charles and Jane Morris. Following emancipation, her family moved to Waughtown seeking greater opportunity. After Jane's death, Charles married Mary Lindback Fries, a founder of the Baptist Church. Addie attended the Waughtown Freedmen's School. At 18, she moved to Philadelphia, worked for a Northern educator, and later studied at Shaw University before serving as a Baptist missionary in Africa. After returning to Winston, Addie founded the Addie Morris Mission School through First Baptist Church, creating the first grammar school for African Americans in Winston. She later helped organize the Colored Baptist Orphanage in Bellevue. After her death, her sister Emma Morris Simmons Joyce continued her work. Reverend Adolphus D. Waugh was born into slavery, the son of Wallace Waugh and Charlotte Waugh Webb, and grandson of Sultana Waugh. After emancipation, he became a Presbyterian minister, educator, and community leader. He served as a teacher and principal, was elected moderator of the Catawba Presbytery in 1887, and became co-publisher of the Christian Union Herald in Charlotte. Widely respected, he preached and ministered across the nation. His work took him to Spartanburg, South Carolina, where he founded a Presbyterian church and established a school. In 1882, he was appointed a missionary to Liberia, West Africa. When Reverend George W. Holland arrived in Waughtown in 1871, he inherited a Baptist congregation that began in the cabin of John and Mary Fries. His charter members were all from Waughtown. Lottie Hines Reich, her daughters Margaret Reich Maston and Callie Reich Yoakley, Margaret's nephew Mingo Foster, Alfred Yoakley, Lou Foy, Harriet Waugh Fries, Paulina Fries, and Mary Lineback Fries Morris, stepmother of Addie C. Morris. As Winston's black population grew, Holland moved the church into Winston, organizing First Baptist Church in 1879 and completing its brick sanctuary in 1882. What began in a Waughtown cabin became one of North Carolina's most influential African-American churches. By 1871, Samuel Waugh, John Henry Waugh, Claiborne Webb, James Schober, and Alexander Moore were attending Lincoln University, becoming the first African-Americans from Forsyth County to attend college. In 1874, Waugh descendant Mary Boner enrolled at Hampton, and she joined Hampton's faculty in 1882. Phoebe Jane Boner Reed also attended Hampton, as did James Stafford before attending Norfolk State. In 1875, Reverend Adolphus Waugh entered Biddle Institute. Jemima Dalton returned from Hampton to teach in the area, and James Francis Schober completed studies at Lincoln and entered Howard. Within a decade of emancipation, Waughtown's young people were becoming teachers, ministers, physicians, and community leaders. By 1872, Robert Hairston, also known as Bob Depot Hairston, emerged as one of Waughtown's largest black landowners. He acquired land beyond present-day Parkview Plaza, directly from the Wachovia tract. Before Robert, the land belonged to the Moravians, and before them, Lord Proprietor John Carteret. Education also flourished. In November 1871, Sultana Boner, Elsie Waugh, Mary Ellis, and other Waughtown children appeared on the honor roll of the Freedmen School. Ned Breitz, who had worked at the Fries gas plant in Brookstown since slavery. He was known as the gas maker, and he died at work on Valentine's Day 1876 after suffering a heart attack. Education was flourishing. In 1883, Sally Waugh became the first teacher of the colored graded school, also known as the Depot Street School in Winston, and her cousin Samuel A. Waugh became its first principal. He led several schools, including Albion Academy. Also in 1883, Sally's future husband, William McBriar, entered St. Augustine's Normal School and later served as a Buffalo Soldier. Elsie Waugh was a senior at Bennett College, and her father Robert Waugh's store served as Waughtown's voting place. Meanwhile, Aaron Stafford, Harry Fries, and Samuel Ratliff purchased land for a Methodist church and schoolhouse in Waughtown. In 1887, Reynolds Grove Primitive Baptist Church was established. Early leaders included Reverend David Hairston and Reverend Pinckney Scales, uncle of Reverend Pinckney Joyce. Named for George D. Reynolds, its grounds became the site of the old Bellevue School and Bellevue Cemetery. 2 years later, Mount Zion Baptist Church was organized. Its first pastor, Reverend George W. Johnson, was moderator of the Rowan Baptist Association, and he married Willis J. Waugh, daughter of Samuel Waugh. In 1890, William McBriar, husband of Sally Waugh, received the Medal of Honor while serving with the 10th U.S. Cavalry. In 1892, descendants of Francis Fries organized the Wachovia Development Corporation and began selling lots in Bellevue, a planned community where land was intentionally sold to both black and white residents. As the 19th century gave way to the 20th, the people of Waughtown had transformed freedom into opportunity. In 1900, Reverend Pinckney Joyce reorganized the Baptist congregation into First Waughtown Baptist Church. 3 years later, the Colored Baptist Orphanage opened in Bellevue under Reverend Joshua Perry, Reverend George W. Holland, Reverend Pinckney Joyce, Alfred Yoakley, Callie Yoakley, and Addie C. Morris. In 1917, banker George D. Reynolds and Bellevue residents donated land for the new Bellevue School. Bellevue residents later funded a community center in the school, creating the region's only community center planned, financed, and opened entirely by black citizens. Today it survives as the Bellevue Recreation Center and Park. These are actual photographs of some of Waughtown's freedmen: Washington Fries and his daughter Clara, Dr. James F. Schober, Addie C. Morris, Sally Waugh McBriar, Elsie Waugh, Susan Waugh Gray, Ned Lemley, and Robert W. Hairston. Through hardship and perseverance, they transformed freedom into opportunity and left a legacy that still shapes our community today. We pause to honor them, thank them, and remember them. Because of their labor, sacrifice, faith, and vision, Waughtown endured, grew, and flourished. Their story is our story, and their legacy is our inheritance. Today, among the living descendants of the Freedmen of Waughtown are members of the Booker, Caldwell, Carter, Charles, Doolin, Foy, Gore, Green, Hairston, Hines, Hamilton, Hallman, Jenkins, Jones, Kelly, Lattimore, Lindsay, Martin, McCall, Mock, Morrison, Naylor, Robinson, Ross, Scales, Self, Stepney, Terry, Thomas, Wagner, and Workman families. And by adoption, all who are part of the Bellevue First Waughtown family are caretakers of this remarkable legacy. So today, we can answer the question asked in 1865. Did this great change turn out to the well-being of these people? The answer is Bellevue First Waughtown and every family represented here. The answer is us. As America commemorates its 250th anniversary, let us remember that history is not only the story of presidents and generals. It is also the story of freedmen who transformed freedom into opportunity, and opportunity into legacy. Now the challenge belongs to us. The psalmist wrote, "One generation shall praise thy works to another, and shall declare thy mighty acts." May we honor their sacrifices, preserve their story, and strengthen what they built. Their chapter is complete, and ours is being written. The next generation is waiting to read it.